Hey guys, so I just got the Kizer Seagull today in the mail and I was excited to start testing it, and unfortunately I think I'm going to be sending it back right away. Not because I don't like the look of it, because that's very much what sold me on the knife when I watched other people's reviews. It's a great looking knife. I love the blade shape, but a couple things right out of the bat. One, it was very gritty. It's smoother now that I've worked it a bit, but very gritty right out of the box. And as you can see here, the liner barely hits the blade. Now, I've tried to push it out with a small screwdriver just to bend it, and it's a little better since I've done that. But when I first took it out of the box, it was like it was not catching at all. If I pushed back on this after I locked it, I would say only about 30% of the time did it actually lock, and the rest of the time it just failed and collapsed right on it. As you can see, I've now gotten it so that it mostly will lock, but I do not like how barely on to the blade this is. That doesn't feel like a good lockup to me, even if I use the rear flipper and I flip it hard, which normally on knives gets it a little further in there, but as you can see, it's still barely on there. Okay, so at first I thought maybe I can adjust some stuff. Maybe it's a tensioning issue with this pivot screw. Maybe if I disassembled the knife I can solve it. Well, here's the other problem. This Torx screw is slightly stripped right out of the box. I used a perfectly good T8 on this to try to do it, and it just, when I went to twist, just spun. So I can't disassemble this knife either. Now, if this was just a one-off, I would say I clearly got a dud, and I'd just send it back and hope that the next one I got would be better. But for me, I've tried now 3 Kizer knives, and 2 of the 3 of them now have had major QC issues, like right out of the gate. And I'm just at a point now where I'm like, I don't know, like, do I even bother want to like send it back and get another one? Or if this is just starting to feel like a pattern to me of bad QC, do I even want to bother like with these knives anymore? And it's a damn shame, because much like the Kizer Hair, where there were a lot of really strong reviews about it and I was excited about it, and it just did not match my experience at all. Every review I've seen about this knife has been glowing and super excited, and again, that's just immediately right out of the box there's QC issues. That's a real bummer for me. So there won't be a full review of this coming, because I'm going to be sending it back, and I'm not exchanging it. I think I'm just sending it back for a refund, and that'll be that, guys. I figured I'd talk through that a minute, just for anyone watching who might be like, that's it, you know, you're just going to jump straight to like screw it and not like really give the knife another chance. And I guess where I'm at with it is this. I review a lot of products. Over the years, I've talked about all kinds of gadgets, from iPads to flashlights to tools to whatever. This is a hobby of mine. I have a passion for it. It's a great feeling to get something that you're excited about and then be able to like make a video talking about the cool stuff you've done with it. Or even if it didn't fully live up to your expectations, you know, it's still cool to be able to appreciate it's not fully for me, but I can see why other people love this, and let me try to tell those people why this still might make sense for them. And we're just so spoiled for choice in the knife world. There's so many good knife makers, and I should qualify, I guess, my unwillingness to mess with this further in this particular case by saying I've bought a lot of knives over the years. I've gotten Kershaw knives and Buck knives and Essie knives and Spyderco knives, Civivi knives, CRKT knives, all kinds of brands over the years. And I say that to say basically never, I think one time ever, in all of the years of collecting knives, did I have a QC issue out of the box that I sent it back for. And I think it was a Buck knife. And I got a replacement, and then everything was cool. And so it was easy to kind of put that one experience behind me and say, you know, you can just be used to, in general, you order knives and they're well made. And you take them out of the box, you use them. If you don't like it, the only reason you don't like it is it's not the right style, or it doesn't cut like you thought it would, but not there's a fundamental problem with the way it works. That's just not, in all the years I've been doing this, been a thing that really ever comes up. And so I look at this and say, there are just so many brands of knives that I could get that's always consistently the experience, that no one in this hobby really, I think, should feel like they have to keep gambling with QC issues. And like I was saying, if you've tried a particular brand that has some excellent looking knives that on paper provide a hell of a lot of value for the money, but if 2 of the 3 of them you've tried have had glaring QC issues right out the gate, in the Kizer Harris case, it was blade unevenness that severely affected cutting performance. And then in this case, it's faulty issues with the lock and the torque screw being stripped. Like, I don't even know how that left the factory. In either case, like, how could somebody flip the knife and then it doesn't lock up and then they're like, yeah, that's cool, and they stick it in a box and send it out? And what's going on with the torque screw? Like I said earlier, if this was a one-off, mistakes happen, I would send it back and get another one, and hopefully it would be cool. But because this has been like a few times now that I've had this issue, always from their knives, I just am at a point where I'm like, even if I could send this knife back and get a replacement that worked better, would I want to make this my everyday carry when it's no longer a brand I'm excited about, or, you know, whatever? I don't know. The principle of that thing for me matters, and so it's not that the other brands I've mentioned are perfect, but like I said, I've not had issues with any of them, and so I just wouldn't really want to carry a knife where that keeps being my experience, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm curious what you guys, make of that. If any of you have had similar experiences with this brand or with others, and do you agree with that assessment, that reasoning, or if it were you in my position, would you still exchange it and, hope for the best? And how many times would you do that? I'm curious. So anyway, that's my video. That's all I guess for now I'm going to be able to say about the Kizer Seagull. Thanks for watching.